And unfortunately, here's where we start. A day of violence in Toronto. Saturday, one shooting, two separate stabbings. This all happened in a span of 8 hours, bringing the total number of murders in our city so far this year to 63. Now, Saturday morning, police were called to a building near Adelaide, near Parliament. They found a male victim where he was pronounced at the scene. More bloodshed after a triple stabbing near Queensway in the West Mall, which left one man dead. There were no suspects at this time in that case. And a 31-year-old man in Toronto charged with first-degree murder and attempted murder after allegedly stabbing his 84-year-old grandmother to death and seriously injuring her 32-year-old caregiver in Pocono. Now, the violence continued through Sunday night, and this time in the area of Kennedy and Ellesmere and Scarborough. Police responded to calls of about 3 to 7 gunshots in two locations at about 10:30 p.m. They located a victim, a 35-year-old man suffering from gunshot wounds to the lower body. He was rushed to hospital, is expected to survive. So far, no word on suspects here. And another shooting that we're following here, a man in his 20s suffering serious injuries after being shot near Humber College in the Humber Line Drive and Woodlight Crescent of Etobicoke. This happened around 9:45 last night. The victim taken to hospital, expected to survive, and again, no word on suspects here. To the streets now. Bayview Avenue has recently reopened after a fatal two-vehicle crash in Richmond Hill that has left one woman dead. This happened around 9:30 last night at Bayview and Wood River Streets. This is just north of Elgin Mills. The woman was pronounced dead at the scene. It is not known if she was the driver or a passenger. Two other people were taken to hospital, but their injuries are considered non-life-threatening. Police are still investigating this one, and so far there's been no word on charges. Well, Toronto Council meeting today to discuss whether they can take any legal action against the province's Bill 5. That is cutting the council size nearly in half. The councillors have already received a confidential report from the city solicitor that there is no obvious legal path against Bill 5. The legislation reducing the size of council from 47 to 25 wards. The council could look at joining other legal proceedings to stop the bill. Today, also the first day for candidates for councillor and school board trustees to register to run in one of the new 25 wards. The registration to run for Toronto's mayor, however, remains closed. The municipal election is on October 22nd. And to the federal scene now, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau has formally announced his nomination for the 2019 vote in his Montreal riding of Pocono. He was first elected in that riding back in 2008, was re-elected in 2011 and 2015. And in making his announcement, Trudeau promised to tackle a number of issues, including protecting Canada's oceans, raising the standard of living for Indigenous peoples, and narrowing the gap between rich and poor. A fundraiser will be held this afternoon for Danielle Kane, a nursing student who was shot in the spine during the July 22nd mass shooting on the Danforth. She was hit while trying to help other victims and now requires new housing, extensive specialized care, as well as rehabilitation. Her cousin, pro golfer Matthew Kane, hosting an event at the Hidden Lake Golf Club in Burlington. And coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to be speaking to Matthew about Danielle's courageous story, as well as the long road to recovery that lays ahead. Well, the grim search for victims of the Genoa, Italy bridge collapse has now ended, bringing the official death toll to 43. And now questions about whether the tragedy could have been avoided are being raised. In a report written in 1979, the engineer who designed the bridge warned that it would require constant maintenance to remove rust caused by erosion from sea, air, and pollution on the concrete. Now, the cause of the collapse is still under investigation by a team of government-appointed engineers. Well, to a scary IndyCar crash now on the Pocono Raceway involving Canadian driver Robert Wickens. Remarkably, everyone survived. Now, there were 5 vehicles in this crash just 8 laps into the race. Amazingly, 4 of the drivers were able to walk away. Oh, this is tough to watch. The exception here was Wickens, who is, of course, from Guelph. It took medical staff about 12 minutes to extricate him from his vehicle. He suffered a broken arm and ankles, and possible vertebrae fracture is expected to be operated on today. Alexander Rossi was the eventual winner of the race. We're sitting at 7 minutes after 6. We'll go downstairs to Roger and Winston.